this globe. We're very pleased to have you here. This panel is about where to invest in Europe. I think that a few years ago we coined it where to invest in Israel, and we were actually looking for money from Europe to be invested in Israel, but things have changed. There's a lot of money in Israel which is now being deployed to Europe and to other parts of the globe. And this presents a great opportunity. I'm very happy to introduce my distinguished guests. We have the Minister of Economy, Industry and Tourism and Employment from Valencia, the region of Valencia in Spain, Mr. Maximo Buch. I'd like to ask Mr. Maximo Buch to join us. Mr. Roger Kuckelman, who is a board member of Kuckelman and Company. He used to be the CEO of Rothschild in Paris. He's the head of the CRIF. It'd be great to get his insights on banking and on macro trends in Europe. I'd like to invite Mr. Ruben Vardanyan. Mr. Ruben Vardanyan is the advisor to the president and chairman of Sberbank Bank in Russia. He was the founder and the chairman of Troika, and he's also sitting on the board of many, many companies in Russia, including the largest car manufacturing company in Eastern Europe, the largest truck manufacturing in Eastern Europe, and we'd really like to hear from him both on Russia and other parts in the East. I'd like to invite Professor Lawrence Reibling, who is based in Boston, but has offices all over the world. He is the chairman and senior partner of Towers Investment Holdings. Thank you very much, Professor Reibling. And also my good colleague and friend, Micha Avnimelech, who is heading the M&A activity at Kuckelman and Company. Micha will tell us a little bit about what is actually going on in Europe today in terms of mergers and acquisitions. So this morning, Uzi Landau actually quoted someone, and I'd like to quote him again. He's not Israeli, he's not European, he's actually American. And you all know of him. His name is Warren Buffett. He's bought 2 companies here in Israel, and he's always been known to say that when everybody gets greedy, he's very fearful, and when everybody gets fearful, this is the time to become greedy. And I'd like to start with Roger Kuckelman and ask you, Roger, have we hit bottom in Europe? Do you feel that this is the time to get greedy? Do you think that there's immense opportunities right now that people just need to seize and take advantage when everybody's actually really not doing a whole lot?
Well, we have had a terrible world crisis which started in America. It went all over the world. But today America went out from this crisis through the generosity of the federal bank by issuing huge quantities of cash which were injected in the American economy, and the American economy is now at a rate of growth of 2.5%. Emerging countries are also on the very positive side, even if their growth rate has decreased, but it's still substantial. Europe is still in a non-growth situation. But I believe that it will finally get out because if the rest of the world is in a better situation, it will reflect on the European economy. And within Europe, you have pluses and minuses. But I think that anyway, we are in a global world, and if the European economy is still weak, there are opportunities. The stock markets are revived. It seems that they anticipate a better situation. So I'm not too pessimistic about the European economy.
Okay, thank you very much. Minister Maximo Buch, again, you come from the region of Valencia in Spain. The region is known for art and culture. You've been ranked as one of the most important cities in this area, and 5 million inhabitants, yet you are facing a serious unemployment. Again, I'd like to ask you the same question. Is it time to become greedy when everyone is so fearful in Spain and from Spain?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank the Kukierman Group for inviting me to this event. Also, my good friend David Hatchwell, who made it possible to me to come here. And yes, I think we are, as Mr. Kukierman just said, we are in a situation in Europe where things look like they are improving. The perspective for next year is not big growth, it's 1%. That's also more or less the same for Spain, probably 0.9, it depends who makes the forecast, between 0.7 and 1%. On my home land, basically, on Spain, I think Spain was one of the big parts of the problem a couple of years ago, and now will be part of the solution. Spain has improved a lot. For instance, the gap of competitivity that Spain lost against Germany in the years 2000, while Germany had very low wage increases. We had nearly 30% gap towards Germany, lost gap. It's recovered by 80%. We are seeing signs of recovery. The consumer trust index has risen in 1 year by 64%, and we have an increase in tourism. Basically, the country is recovering, getting more competitive, and in this sense, I think Spain can be a positive contributor to the opportunities to relaunch Europe. Also because we have a much more international scope now. More or less a third of the GDP is now on global trade basis, so it's becoming more international, more global country, and this is the way out. We are, as Mr. Kukierman said, we are in a global world, and the opportunities to be in the markets that are growing, that have fast growth, and take the chances there and have our industry and our services be there. Obviously, also in our case, the tourism.
Yes, thank you very much. And if we can just give an example, you're saying you're much more global. For anyone who's ever been at the Telefonica city in Madrid, Telefonica is a big player in South America, and only a small part of the revenues is now generated in Spain. So I think this is the global angle that Minister Maximo Buch was talking about. Thank you. Mr. Ruben Vardanyan, thank you very much for joining us again. You are the advisor to the chairman and president of Sberbank, the largest bank in Russia in terms of assets. We have looked at Russia, very carefully over the last few years. We know that Russia is now the 8th largest economy in the world, and yet the index has not done too well. We see it here on the screen. Again, back to Warren Buffett, is this the time to become greedy and start buying Russian stocks? And if yes, what kind of stocks?
Thank you. I also want to say thank you very much for Kukierman family to inviting me in Israel, and it's a great pleasure to participate in this type of conference. I think what's changed in the world, including Russia, is not anymore you just coming to country and investing in general in the stocks or industry. You're going specific and picking up the stories. I think it's a big difference. For example, Sberbank, on one hand, Russian banking system under big pressure, undercapitalized, and a lot of problems. At the same time, Sberbank, last 3 years, provided 25% return on equity, and the net profit of last year was $12 billion. Okay, and the bank became the third biggest bank in Europe, and it's showing transformation what's happening under management, and you can see the different attitude from investors to the Sberbank. The other story, which happened recently, last week, the company, which was established one of the entrepreneurs, Oleg Tinkov, made the placement in London. It was 8 times oversubscribed, and it's a mobile payment system. And again, the EBITDA is 12 times EBITDA, and price was really higher. If you look at other Russian stocks, it's much cheaper compared to Brazil, India, China. This stock is traded the value with this compared with European companies. So I say we are facing new reality when the investors becoming more cautious. We want to choose really some stories which we understand what's the thing behind all the stories. And yes, I think it's a good time to look at Russia, but it needs to not just look general, like buying Gazprom. What was the strategy before? You buy Gazprom because Russia is a gas and oil, and you don't care about anything else. Now it needs to be more specifically and more concrete about what you want to do in Russia.
Right, so basically cherry picking the big winners. Thank you very much. Professor Weibling, again, the chairman of Taurus Fund. You're based in Boston, but you have a lot of activity. You've deployed hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate, but we're not going to talk about real estate right now because we have a panel on real estate. We'll leave that. Maybe you wanted to say a few words about the behavior of consumers in Europe and elsewhere. And again, back to the first question, is it time to be greedy and to start being a contrarian to the fear that has been very much dominating the European continent?
Thank you. As a psychologist, of course, I like to talk about behavior, but it's not a science. Economics is probably a science, I don't know. Real estate is definitely more an art than a science, but there are some basics that Mark Twain, I think he was quoted once before by the Minister of Tourism this morning. He was a very smart man, and Mark Twain said that common sense, contrary to what we assume, is not very common. And what we have to deal with right now is more common sense than predicting the future, because nobody knows the future. But we know a lot of things that are happening right now. And if you look at the world from a real estate perspective, and that's unfortunately my job, it doesn't look really good. We have 5 parameters to monitor in real estate. That's really all we have to understand. 3 of those, interest rates, inflation rates, and cap rates, are at a very dangerous point, much too low, some of them. And the bet that many people made 2 or 3 years ago to invest in real estate was based on the prediction by virtually all the investment banks around the world and all the experts that inflation will go up. The reason for that being that the Federal Reserve is printing 85 billion every month, and it had no impact on inflation. This is a new world. Whoever understands this world, please let me know. But here's a few things we know. For example, we know that the economy in Germany functions overall very well. It doesn't function well because of intrinsic demand, it functions well because of exports, which is always a very dangerous situation to be in. But for the moment, we can say that certain types of real estate in Germany function extremely well, like logistics, because goods have to be moved from Russia to Sicily or from Finland to Poland, whatever. And some of those crossways go through certain countries, and the logistics facilities and the infrastructure are lacking. So we have focused on that, and we have built some logistics around Frankfurt Airport and other airports in Germany. And we will do also in Berlin if they ever get the airport completed. Another debacle in real estate, but we can see that in Europe there are good areas as well as there are weak areas. Another one that I would consider as very interesting is German retail, because German retail, as far as cap rates, has a 200 basis point spread to Canadian retail with the same tenants. I do not think that the pricing is correct. So there might be a similar opportunity than with Sberbank. German retail is undervalued, and the buying is always best when things seem to be undervalued.